On my second night in that flat, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. The knocking had already started. 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks, from inside the wall beside my bed. Not from the hallway, not from the flat next door, from inside the wall, in the plaster, between me and whatever was on the other side of it. Same rhythm every time, same spacing. 3, pause, 3. Like something that had been counting very patiently until it was certain I was awake. I sat up. Phone said 3:12 a.m., 4th floor, new building, second night. I did not knock back. Not because I was smart, because the night before, a note had appeared under my door. Square of paper, careful handwriting, no name, no explanation, or just... Flat 4 to C. If you hear knocking from inside the wall, do not knock back. I had followed that instruction without understanding it. For 4 months, I followed instructions without understanding them. This is the story of 14 Olatunji Close, the 9 rules that kept me intact inside it, and the one night I almost broke them all. We start with the knocking, because the knocking is where everything begins. I moved into the building in January 2018. Lagos, dry season. 26 years old, new job, needed somewhere close to the mainland bridge. The building was in Lagos, but if you've ever lived in an older apartment block anywhere, the kind where the walls are slightly too thick and the corridors stay cool even when they shouldn't, you'd recognize the feeling immediately. The generator across the street ran all night. The harmattan dust settled on every surface by morning. The smell of someone's stew reached you in the corridor, whether you wanted it to or not. The caretaker, Mr. Adebisi, showed me the flat. 4th floor, west-facing windows. Good afternoon light. He spoke efficiently. Showed me the switches, the hot water, the lock mechanism. Handed me a printed sheet. House rules. I skimmed it. Standard things. No loud music after 10. Report maintenance within 24 hours. No open flames on the balconies. Then, at the bottom, separated by a thin line. Residents of the 4th floor are advised not to use the stairwell between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. I read it twice. No explanation, no consequence stated. And same font, same tone. As if, don't use the stairwell between 2 and 4 a.m. and don't play loud music were equivalent instructions. I told myself, maintenance, cleaning schedule, something practical I hadn't thought to ask about. Folded the sheet, moved my boxes, forgot about it entirely. 3 weeks later, work function runs late. I come home at 2:20 a.m., 2 bags, laptop over my shoulder, building entrance, stairwell light, start climbing, 3rd floor landing. I remember the rule. Not dramatically, just the flat memory of it surfacing. I check my phone, 2:20 a.m., rule runs until 4 o'clock. I stand there for 10 seconds. Then I do something I still can't entirely explain. I sit down on the top step of the 3rd floor landing, put my bags beside me, and wait. No sounds from above, no movement. The building breathes its ordinary building sounds, settling, a distant generator, traffic from the main road. At 3:01 a.m., I stand up, collect my bags, and walk the last flight to the 4th floor. Nothing happens. Except this. In the single step from the 3rd floor landing to the bottom of that last flight, in exactly that transition, the air in the stairwell changed. Not a sound, not a sight, a quality. Like something that had been in one configuration moved, in the moment my weight shifted forward, very slightly into another. Less than a second. Gone before I could fix it in place. I lay in my flat that night thinking, Something is in that stairwell between 2 and 4. And when it heard me coming, then it moved. The next morning, I checked the rent against comparable flats in the neighborhood. I was paying 60% of market rate. Then I knocked on the door of flat 4A. Emika, civil engineer, mid-30s, the measured friendliness of someone who had calibrated exactly how much social energy the fourth floor required. He looked at me, ran a quick assessment. I said, "The sheet, the stairwell rule, do you know why?" Long pause. Then, follow all of them, especially the last one. Door closed. No context, no story, especially the last one. Then silence. I stood in the corridor and thought about what that closed door contained. Then I noticed something. The note was already under my door. I'd been in the building 3 weeks. No note on day 1 through 20. On the morning after I walked through the stairwell during the restricted hours, on the exact morning after, there was a square of paper on my mat. Think about what that means. Someone in this building knew what I had done the night before, knew which flat I was in, knew what was going to happen next, knew it well enough to warn me before it started. That night, night 22 of my tenancy, first night after the stairwell, the knocking started, 3:12 a.m., 3 pause, 3, 4 minutes and 14 seconds, from inside the wall beside my bed. I did not knock back. In the morning, I knocked on the door of flat 4B. Old Auntie Folake opened the door before I could finish raising my hand. Late 40s, retired school teacher. The directness of a woman who had earned, after decades of being professionally patient, the right to say exactly what she meant. She looked at me and said, "How long did it last?" 4 minutes. "That's fine." I said, "What's not fine?" She said, "Come in." She made tea. She told me what she knew, a calibrated amount. I understood later. Not everything, just enough. The building has a condition, not a ghost, not in the way people mean, more like a property. Some buildings have damp, some have structural noise. This building has this. I said, "What is this?" Something interested in the space. We're in the space. The rules are what keep those two facts from becoming a problem. Then, rule 2. When you leave your flat in the morning and you've locked your door, don't turn around to look at it. I said, "Why?" She said, "Just don't." No story, no explanation, just the rule, delivered in the same flat tone as everything else in this building. I followed it. Every morning, lock the door, face the stairwell, don't look back. 12 days before it was tested. Wednesday morning, I'm 3 meters from my door, halfway to the stairwell, and I can't remember if I left the kitchen light on. The reflex is automatic, body already turning. 8 hours of electricity I'm about to waste for no reason. The air in the corridor shifts. Oh. That same quality from the stairwell. Something rearranging itself, taking a position, less than a second. Gone before I can hold it. I don't turn around. I walk to the stairwell, and I do not look back, and I think, whatever Rule 2 is protecting me from, it was just there, at my door, in the moment I almost turned. I still don't know what I almost saw. Week 4, 11:40 p.m., working late at the kitchen table. I get up for water, come back to the bedroom doorway. Stop. My bedroom is dark, fan running, everything where I left it, except there is a shape in the mirror. Not my reflection. My reflection would be in the doorway, where I'm standing facing in. This shape is at the window, or standing with its back to the room, same height as me, same build. Standing at my window, latched, closed, in my mirror, in my bedroom, in a room I locked from the inside. I don't move, I count afterward 40 seconds. 40 seconds in a doorway with a shape at my window in the mirror of a room no one else is in. The fan completes its oscillation cycle. The blade turns, the air shifts, it's gone. Just me in the doorway, my reflection where it should be. Window, latched, empty, no marks. I turn on every light, check every corner, check the window twice. Nothing disturbed, nothing moved, nothing. I don't write it down. I tell myself the dark, the angle, half sleep. I hold that explanation for 4 days. Then I understand what I saw, but we're not there yet. What I can tell you now, it was 11:40 p.m., 20 minutes before midnight. I'll come back to why that's exact. The fourth rule, I find myself. Ground floor lobby, notice board, lower left corner, an index card, typed, centered. Do not photograph the stairwell. This applies to all floors. All floors, not the fourth floor, not certain hours, all floors. That means someone tried it on a different floor. The rule was expanded after that. Someone photographed the stairwell somewhere in this building, and whatever that photograph showed, or whatever happened after they took it, was bad enough to generate a policy update, posted publicly, applied building-wide. I never found out what the photograph showed. I never took my camera out. Month 2, anti-ffour tells me Rule 5. Once a month, leave something at your threshold. Food, not cooked, something raw. Uncooked rice, a piece of fruit, a handful of grain. Leave in the evening. Don't watch to see what takes it. I ask, why? She says, think of it as a fee, a small thing. It helps things stay smooth. Not a gift, not a sacrifice. She specifically doesn't use that word, a fee. Fees are transactional. Fees imply a service being rendered in exchange. The word has a ledger in it. 2 parties, terms. I start leaving rice on the 1st of each month. Every time, gone by morning. Dish returned, clean, slightly moved. No animal I can document on the 4th floor. No evidence of how the dish was moved. I file it under, things I don't have a framework for. Then February. I'm 2 days late with the rice. Busy week, I forget. Those 2 days, and the 4 days after, generate my 3 most unusual log entries. Longer knocking. The corridor air shifts twice in 4 days instead of once in 2 weeks. Bedroom temperature drop lasts 25 minutes instead of the usual 15. 2 days late on the fee. 4 days of elevated activity. Then back to baseline. The arrangement had terms. When I didn't hold up my side, the building tightened. I was never late again. Month 2 also brings Rule 6, also from anti-ffour. If you see another 4th floor resident in the stairwell and they don't greet you, don't greet them. I say, what does that mean? She says, the building produces copies sometimes. Same appearance, same everything, but they can't initiate. They can respond, but they can't start a greeting. So the rule is simple. Wait. If they speak first, they're real. If they don't, walk past. Don't speak. Don't look directly. I think about March 11th, the shape at the end of the corridor, standing near the stairwell door with its back to me. 30 seconds, and it never turned. I think about the shape in my mirror at 11:40 p.m. I say, how often does this happen? She says, more often when the other rules are being stretched. I think about the 2 days I was late with the rice. I think about walking through the stairwell at 2:20 a.m. The copies showed up more when I wasn't holding up my side. The building was giving me feedback. I kept a log, operations analyst habit, track anomalies, timestamp deviations, note patterns, on my phone, clinical, factual. Here's what the log looked like. March 3rd, 10:47 p.m. The stairwell light replaced today. Old one buzzed, new one is silent. I noticed the absence of the buzzing more than I noticed the buzzing itself. The silence left behind is slightly wrong, like the buzz was covering something, not adding to it. March 11th, 7:15 a.m. It's shape at the far end of the corridor. Ameka's build. Back to me. Stairwell door. I start to call out. Stop myself. Wait 30 seconds. It doesn't turn, doesn't move. I go back inside for 5 minutes. Come out. Corridor empty. I don't know if that was Ameka. I follow Rule 6 and I never find out. March 19th, 11:30 p.m. Knocking, same wall, 4 minutes, 14 seconds. Bedroom temperature drops when it stops. 2 to 3 degrees, directional rather than ambient. Normalizes in 20 minutes. Second time this pattern correlates exactly. March 28th, monthly rice gone. Dish returned. This is the second month with the same outcome. April 4th, 11:05 p.m. This is the one I go back to most. Working late, kitchen table, I get up to make tea. Washis. While I'm in the kitchen, door open, kettle on, I hear a sound from the bedroom. Not the knocking, different. The sound of weight being redistributed, of something settling into position. The specific sound of a body adjusting in a chair, from an empty room. I stand in the kitchen doorway. I don't go in. I don't move for 9 minutes. I check my phone twice. The sound doesn't repeat. Eventually, I make my tea. I work at the kitchen table for the rest of the night. When I finally go to bed, the room is undisturbed, exactly as I left it. But the sound had a location, a point source, approximately where the bed was. Something had been sitting in my room while I was in the kitchen. It didn't rush when I stood in the doorway, didn't move. The stillness that came after the sound was a choosing kind of stillness, patient. The stillness of something that had decided, actively decided, to wait rather than act. I've asked myself many times whether I should have gone in. I think the fact that I didn't is why I left that building intact. Rule 7 came from Mr. Adebisi directly. May. I was reporting a bathroom tap issue. He fixed it in 20 minutes. While he was packing his tools, without looking up, there's one for the window. Rule 7. Don't open the bedroom window after 11 p.m. I ask, why? He says, the stairwell and the window work on different logic. The stairwell is about time. Oh, the window is about invitation. He pauses on that word, invitation. Keep it closed after 11. The window faces a direction that makes invitations complicated. That's all, a direction that makes invitations complicated. He picks up his toolbox. I don't ask which direction. I buy a second fan. I keep the window closed every night from that point on. I don't know what the window was inviting in. I decide that not knowing is the safest outcome available to me. Rule 8 was Ameka's. Last week of May. Corridor, passing each other. He stops, looks at me with the specific look of someone who has been calculating when to say something. He says, the mirror in your room. The wardrobe, full-length mirror on the inside of the door, and left by the previous tenant. I've been using it every morning for 5 months. He says, don't cover it and don't move it. But after midnight, don't look at it. If you wake up disoriented and the room is dark, face the other wall. I say, why? He says, during the day it reflects correctly. After midnight it doesn't. What it shows instead, he stops, starts again. I've heard descriptions. I have no intention of finding out myself. And there it is. 11:40, week 4. The shape in my mirror at my window. Same height as me, same build. Back to the room. Gone when the light came on. 11:40, 20 minutes before midnight. 20 minutes before the mirror stops reflecting correctly. What I had seen at 11:40 was the almost version, the not yet clear version. Whatever the mirror shows at midnight, I had seen the approaching edge of it, 20 minutes out, still indistinct, still turning away. 20 more minutes, and I would have seen its face. I asked Amika about the previous tenant, the pharmaceutical rep. 5 months, left without notice. He said, she found out what the mirror shows. I said, and? She was fine, physically. She just couldn't stay. Fine, but unable to remain. I was beginning to understand those two words occupied very different places on a spectrum that didn't have a clean name. I moved my phone to the far side of the bed that night. Any midnight reach turns me away from the wardrobe. I did this every night until I moved out. I never looked at the mirror after midnight. Now, I need to tell you about the night in June when I almost broke everything. Friday, 11 o'clock. I came home tired, slightly less careful than I'd trained myself to be. Long week. A call with a friend from home that ran an hour, half watching something on my laptop while we talked. When I hung up, it was just past midnight. The flat was warm, first wet heat of the season sitting heavy. I went to the bedroom to get the fan remote, turn the light on. And in the automatic sweep of a person entering a room, eyes moving across the space, taking inventory, my gaze tracked directly toward the wardrobe. I stopped it. Half a second, less. The edge of the wardrobe door caught in my peripheral vision, the dark gap between door and frame. I stopped my eyes before the glass. I don't know what was in the mirror at that moment. I got the fan remote. I left the room. I didn't turn off the bedroom light because turning it off meant turning toward the wardrobe. I sat in the kitchen with the fan running and the bedroom light burning until 1 a.m. Nothing happened. What I felt was not relief. It was closer to, I had been within half a second of the line, and the line had held, not because of anything I did brilliantly, because of muscle memory, because of 5 months of rules drilled into a body until they operated faster than decision-making. Half a second. And that's what 5 months of careful living bought me. Half a second between me and whatever the mirror shows at midnight. Rule 9 came from Auntie Folake in June. She said, when you leave this place, when you move on, don't give people the exact address. I said, what do you mean? Give the neighborhood, give the general area, don't give the street name, don't give the number. I said, why? What's here moves through the people who knew it, not the building, the people. If you give someone the address and they go there, you've led them to it. And that's a different relationship than the one you've managed to keep. A different relationship. Not a dangerous one necessarily, but different. One without the rules. And one without Auntie Folak to make tea and calibrate what you need to know. One without Amika in the corridor giving you the careful version of a warning. One without a printed sheet and a note under the door. and a caretaker who knows exactly when to say the word invitation. A relationship with whatever is in that building, with no map and no prior arrangement. I follow this rule. I'm following it now. You're getting the shape of what happened, the sequence of the rules, not the street, not the number. The address is mine to keep. I want to spend a moment on the silence, the institutional silence, because it's the detail that made me certain, completely certain, that what I was inside was real. The rules were enforced without being officially enforced. No formal contract clause, no posted consequences, no system. And yet, in 4 months, I never saw Emeka break one. Never saw Auntie Folake break one. The previous older tenant, 2 years, never broke one. The compliance was total and voluntary and maintained without visible enforcement. That level of compliance doesn't come from fear alone. Fear makes people test things. Fear produces the one person per generation who decides to prove the rule isn't real. Nobody in that building was proving the rules weren't real. Because the rules weren't about fear, they were about relationship. A set of signals transmitted continuously to something continuously oriented toward the space, saying, "We know you're here. We're not pretending otherwise. We're going to live inside your logic rather than pretend it doesn't have one." And the building side of that. It led us. Not benevolence, not friendship, the specific restraint of something that could have been significantly more present, choosing within the terms of the arrangement not to be. I asked Mr. Adebisi on the day I gave notice, what exactly is the arrangement? He said, "What is the wrong question? What implies a category? I don't have a category." He paused. "What I can tell you, it was here before the building. It'll be here after. The shell changes. What's inside adapts." I said, "Does it know we're afraid?" "It knows you're in the building." I think the distinction between afraid and present probably isn't one it makes. On my last night, I stood in the flat and cataloged it. The fan, the mug, the amber light through the western window, the wardrobe door with the mirror I had never looked at after midnight, the 4th floor air, still, cool, waiting. I understood something I hadn't quite landed on until that moment. The 9 rules were not a set of restrictions. They were a language. Each rule a word and a vocabulary of recognition, and the building, whatever was in it, understood the vocabulary. What it needed, I think, was not fear or worship or ceremony, just to be seen, to be acknowledged, to have the people in its space behave in ways that said, "We know you're here and we are choosing," deliberately, to live within your logic. In exchange, the line held. Every time. I turned off the lights, went to bed, slept well, as I always slept once I understood the rules. They were their own kind of shelter. In the morning, I packed my last bag, walked to the stairwell. It was 9 a.m., well outside the restricted hours, and I walked up through it for the last time without a second thought. I didn't look back at my door. 4 things I'm still carrying. I'll give them to you because some of you will carry them better than I have. First, the pharmaceutical rep. 5 months, left without notice. Fine, just couldn't stay. I've thought about what that word fine is covering. Fine means no physical harm. In fine means the body arrived home intact. Fine does not mean nothing was taken. I notice things now that I didn't notice before January 2018. I notice when air is stiller than it should be, When a room has a temperature variation that doesn't match the rest of the space. When silence has weight to it rather than just absence. I notice automatically, without choosing to, the way you notice a limp after an injury that healed. I don't know if that's damage. I don't know if it's knowledge. I know it wasn't there before. Second, Auntie Folake. She was there when I arrived, there when I left. 3 years before me and counting. She could have left. People left. She stayed. Not because she didn't understand what was in the building. Because she did. Oh, Borty. I asked her once why she stayed. She said, "It's quiet here, and I understand it. I don't have many places where I can say both of those things." I think about her some evenings, making tea on the 4th floor, the corridor with its specific coolness, the arrangement intact, the rules holding, the building settled around her like a thing that has accepted being shared. I hope she's still there. I think she is. Third, the shape in my mirror at 11:40 p.m. Same height, same build. At my window, it's back to the room. 11:40, 20 minutes before midnight. 20 minutes before the mirror stops reflecting accurately. I've never let myself complete the thought. I stop it at 20 minutes. And I stop it at gone before the light came on. I stop it before I arrive at what it was doing at my window in my room at that hour. I stop it before I ask whether it was looking in or looking out. Fourth, Mr. Adebisi's last words to me. He shook my hand. He said I'd been a good resident. And then he said, "One day you'll understand the last rule. Most people work it out after they've left." 9 rules on the sheet and in the conversations and in the notes. 9 rules I've given you. He said, the last rule. Most people work it out after. I've been working on it for 6 years. Here's where I've landed. I'm not certain, but here's what I think. The 9 rules are all about what you don't do. Don't use the stairwell. Don't turn back. Don't knock back. Don't photograph. Don't initiate with the copies. Don't skip the fee. Don't open the window. Don't look in the mirror. Don't give the address. All of them. Restraint, withholding, absence. Rule 10, I think, is the only one that isn't. I think Rule 10 is, understand that the arrangement was always in your favor. Not because nothing was there, because what was there was never oriented toward harm, because the building has been running this arrangement through multiple caretakers, multiple tenants, multiple generations of people learning the rules through notes and corridor conversations and printed sheets. And in all of that time, the pattern is the same. People who follow the rules leave intact. Wow. The rules were never a cage. They were the shape of a relationship with something older than the building, older than the street, older than the city that grew up around it without touching it. And the relationship, if you honored it, was safe. That's what I think Rule 10 is. The recognition that you were never in as much danger as the silence made it feel like you were. I don't know if I'm right. I've been wrong before about that building. 9 rules. I've given you all of them. And 1 I'm still working out. I left something out of this story deliberately. There were 3 entries in my April log I haven't told you about. Not because they're dramatic. They aren't. Because each one alone means nothing. Together they point towards something specific about the building's history before it was a building, before the street, before the neighborhood. I want to know if you see what I think they point toward. Without me telling you what I think in the comments, If the shape of this story is familiar to you, if you've been in a building with a condition, if you know what an arrangement feels like from the inside, drop it below. Not the address, not the name, just, you know. And if you've worked out Rule 10, if something I said tonight made it land for you in a way it hasn't for me. I've been sitting with that question for 6 years. I'm genuinely curious how close some of you are. I survived 4 months inside a system I didn't design. I followed 9 rules I was handed by strangers who would learn them at whatever cost they had paid. I left intact. I think, if you ever find yourself on a 4th floor with a printed sheet and a still cool corridor and a mirror someone tells you not to look at after midnight, remember the rules faster than I did. Either way, now you know,